Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and I've been doing a daily countdown of my 366 favorite video games of all time, and coming in at number 24 is Halo 3.
Tell you that.
Yesterday's video saw me basically covering the essence of an entire trilogy in 8 minutes. Obviously, I've been spending a bit more time on this one. I'm not planning to totally rehash everything from the first 2 Halo games here, so if you're watching this and are unfamiliar with what all happened with those, I suggest you look it up or watch my videos covering them. Very few games have ever had as much hype and pressure to succeed as Halo 3, and even fewer have lived up to it, but Halo 3 absolutely crushed it. There's a lot to talk about here, but first I actually want to talk about advertisements of all things. The advertising campaign leading up to Halo 3 is, I think, the most memorable video game advertisements in my life. They're certainly the coolest. There was a lot they did with the marketing, from gamer fuel with Mountain Dew to coinciding multimedia releases, but the best thing they did was this campaign called Believe, which was built around the idea of this singular story moment with a massive diorama that was built and a fake museum with these actors portraying war veterans as if they fought alongside Master Chief in this, fictional sci-fi war. There's exhibits, there are replica weapons from all sides of combat. It's remarkable, and I encourage you to look up everything from that campaign because it's just so well done. Alright, I can talk about the game now. As far as I'm concerned, this game was the reason to own an Xbox 360. There are other games I played on mine that do rank higher, but they were multi-platform. If I owned an Xbox 360 and this was the only game I had for it, I still would have found that worth the price of admission. From the incredible campaign to the stellar multiplayer options, of course with the memorable Xbox Live lobbies and endless customization from the Forge, this game checked every single box. We'll start with the campaign. There's a small time skip between the end of Halo 2 and the start of Halo 3, with Master Chief being found in Africa. The Covenant have invaded and are in search of something there, an ancient artifact. Ultimately, the Covenant locate your base of operations and flush you out, while also activating the artifact, which opens a portal to a distant part of space. But I've left out a very important detail about the start, and ultimately the entirety of this campaign. The Arbiter's there. That's right, the Covenant elite that defected after learning how his leaders were going to wipe out all life in the universe is fully working with the humans now. I didn't record the campaign this way, but by far the best way to play it is split-screen cooperative, because one of you is Master Chief and the other is the Arbiter, and it's great to be handling both of these characters with their different playstyles and abilities and things, and it's a lot of fun to actually handle that in an in-world way, and the cutscenes are cool, and yeah, it's so awesome. The portal you go through leads to something called the Ark, which actually builds and assembles Halo rings. The Flood have control of the capital ship of the Covenant fleet, and Gravemind is still holding Cortana captive. Much of the game is trying to break into this ship and rescue Cortana because you need her to do the next part. I'm skipping a ton of story here, but I promise, it's all good, it's all very much worth it. Carefully threading the needle on a ton of interwoven plot points from the first 2 games and neatly tying up all those loose ends. Eventually, we rescue Cortana, but she's been probed and tortured the whole time, and she's, well, it's rough.
You might be too late.
You know me. When I make a promise.
You keep it. I do know how to pick him.
But now that Master Chief has been reunited with his computer waifu, we can finish the fight. After escaping from the Covenant's flagship, you head down to the newly created Halo and fight your way in, where you start the initiation sequence. Unfortunately, your longtime friend and partner in battle is stopped by an emergency function of 343 Guilty Spark, and the funniest character in this game, Major Johnson, dies. Actually, a ton of characters have died in this game, and I just kind of skipped over it. But here we are, back where we started. Much of the third game is a structural parallel to the first game, in part so that the key differences stand out. You're ambushed by Covenant in your own base, you find a Halo, you journey across it in an attempt to kill one of the Covenant prophets, you blow up the Halo, and you outrun the exploding world beneath your feet on a Warthog. The differences, however, are what complete the story to me. Spending so much of that time without Cortana, the pinnacle of human intelligence and technology, taking severe losses every step of the way, bleeding friends left and right that had been along the journey with you for so long, fighting alongside the Arbiter, which should be the ultimate symbol of your enemy. The Flood aren't just some horrifying monster of the natural world, but rather they're an organized, determined force led by Gravemind. But importantly, the resolution here is that you get away, and I must say, now that I've played them so close to each other, this Warthog segment was much harder to me than the one in the first game. But when I say you get away, I mean only partially. The portal back to Earth closes before Chief can get through, and he's presumed dead. There's a wonderful cutscene honoring the sacrifices made to end the war between the humans and the Covenant, and even the Arbiter gets to be part of this ceremony. With the prophets now gone and their lies exposed, the Covenant is now under new leadership and may forge a shaky peace with humanity. We wind up seeing that Chief is alive, actually, floating in space, and he goes into cryo, while Cortana starts an emergency beacon and watches over his body. He tells her to wake him when he's needed, which we now know means Halo 4, but at the time, I really thought the games were done. Like, the writing and the way everything comes together to this conclusion is so tightly woven that I really thought there wasn't room to do another game. I haven't really played Halo 4, and I don't really have much desire to, because of how perfectly everything here was wrapped up. It was so perfect of an ending, in fact, that I took Wake Me When You Need Me to mean that his job was done and to not wake him at all, and that the monument to his death and sacrifice was fitting after all. This all ties back to that amazing advertisement campaign with the interviews of the veterans talking about where they were when Chief found the grenade he used to turn the tide of battle. Yes, he was the greatest soldier on that battlefield, but equally important was that his mere presence of being in the fight helped everyone else to pull through. Humanity no longer needed that inspiration, and the conflict was over, and so too was his service. But what do I know? Clearly not more than Microsoft. After all, they just really needed the money. The story to Halo 3, and really the campaigns to all three games in the trilogy, are fantastic, loaded with amazing characters, memorable moments, and remarkable sprawling level designs. But let's be real here, it's not the main thing we're doing, right? Multiplayer in Halo 3 was incredible, in part because of how Xbox Live really catapulted the capabilities of online play, but also because they were able to keep refining their formula that started in Halo Combat Evolved. Later titles in the franchise, I've always thought gave a few too many concessions to the popularity of Call of Duty games, and you may notice I have put exactly 0 of those on the rankings. I want to be clear about that. It's a deliberate choice, and in fact, I think that Modern Warfare ruined multiplayer shooting games for me for almost an entire decade, until Overwatch came out. I like some bullet sponge, I like crazy jumping, and I especially like outlandish fantasy or sci-fi weaponry, and I hate the positive feedback loops of killstreak bonuses. But that's not what this video is about, other than the outlandish fantasy and sci-fi weaponry, that is. While most of Halo 3's multiplayer is a refinement of Halo 2's system, there's a few additions. For starters, there's usable items, but not the game-warping extent that Halo Reach did. Maybe some deployable cover, or some brief invisibility, but nothing too crazy, and they were all one-time use. There was some new grenades too, like the spike grenades that are associated with brutes, which I think are a lot of fun, but most importantly, we were able to wield gravity hammers for the first time. This bonk stick is deceptively fun. Yes, the idea of whacking someone with a stick and launching them into the distance is great, and actually there is a skin that you can use that is a golf club, but the applications don't stop there. You see, there's actually a little bit of range to the attack, sending a wave in front of you, allowing you to kind of hit people just a bit further than its actual reach, and getting good with that is extremely rewarding. All year long, I've been recording these Halo titles with the Master Chief Collection, and apart from the lack of the appropriately amazing title screens with the halos and the and other nostalgia bait, I've talked about how great it is. There's a lot of reasons to love the Master Chief Collection. Well, recording Halo 3 multiplayer has informed me that I was wrong for this, and it's absolute trash. You see, the thing I spent probably more time than anything else in Halo 3 back on Xbox 360 was Griffball. What's that? It's a fictional sport created with Halo. You throw two teams in a boxed-in room, and they have to protect a goal it's represented by a flag. There's a bomb in the middle of the room, and each player has an energy sword and a gravity hammer, which are, by all accounts, the coolest weapons in these games. There's a lot of great interactions here though. For starters, while you have the energy sword out, you move faster than with the hammer. You also get a little more reach with the lunge on the swords, meaning that you can time your kills a little better than the people with hammers. In theory, energy swords should always beat hammers, but the important thing is that with that little knockback wave I talked about with the hammers that is further than the actual kill reach, you can actually time it right to knock back a lunging sword attacker. This won't kill them, but it keeps them from killing you, and allows your team to space the room so that you can pick up the bomb, and in theory, they can push you to score. They can even use their gravity hammers to not quite kill you as the bomb carrier, but launch you directly into the opposing goal, too. It's like if Halo had Rocket League, but before Rocket League got made. I loved Griffball and played an insane amount of it, and it's not even here. It made me very sad because I was so looking forward to it, and instead you have to watch me suck at Slayer. Though I do like this map a lot. This is a good map. The last thing I need to talk about with Halo 3 is something I can't ignore, and that's Forge. They put in an entire map editor, and you can spawn whatever you want on any map and modify entire rules about the game. It's crazy how much you can modify, and that's actually how Griffball got made. It was a community Forge map made by the guys over at Rooster Teeth, and then Bungie put it into the game as like a queuable community thing. People made a ton of cool things, and while I never really got that into the making of maps myself, I'm glad we got all of these awesome tools for, the people that do care to make fun stuff. Halo 3 is the best Halo game ever made. It absolutely stuck the landing on a long, epic story and executed flawlessly on my favorite flavor of multiplayer shooting, making it also, I think, the best multiplayer shooter ever made. Join me tomorrow as I talk about my 23rd favorite game, where I learned to be careful with item duplication tricks at risk of, breaking the game.